out for big business people to slow learning.
Today I'm in one of my favourite places, Torridon, and I'm with a couple of clients. We're going to go hike up a mountain pass and camp at the top, and then head on up to a couple of summits, hopefully over 2 nights. That's the plan. This evening looks like a 50-50 for sunset, but we're going to roll the dice and see how it goes. But it's great to be out on a day with a bit of a breeze, because it's keeping the midges away, and it's cool enough to hike because it's been a bit too hot and midgy over the past couple of days. It'd be great to stay in this bothy as well, which you see just here. It's a fantastic place to stay. I've been here a couple of times before, but unfortunately the bothies are closed because of coronavirus. But nevertheless, we're going to continue on our hike and get up to the top and set up camp. And I'm pretty excited for what the next couple of days might bring.
So your heart can actually grow in size from itself.
So we've made it to the top of our mountain pass. This is the peak here that we're actually going to go up this evening, but the first thing we've got to do is find somewhere to camp, and I was thinking that it would be difficult to find spots because actually last time I was up here it was pretty waterlogged. But if you wanted to, we could actually just camp right here. There's actually plenty of spots. But what we're actually going to do is camp down there near the lakes and out of the wind a little bit, which hopefully won't bring on the midges, but it certainly looks like a pretty idyllic place to camp. And we're really well situated here because not only can we go up that mountain, but we can go up this one, which is also fantastic. So both of them have really outstanding views of the surrounding area. And then right on our doorstep, just up on this ridge just here, is a fantastic view looking over the lakes. Sort of panoramic view looking out to this mountain here. So I'm actually really excited to try photographing a few of the shots here that I haven't had a chance to in the past, and particularly that one up on the ridge there. But unfortunately, if you look towards the sunset direction, which is in that direction at the moment, it looks like we've got quite a lot of cloud. But we're still going to head up to this peak because it's an amazing hike and check out the view. Because it's pretty fantastic up there, so I'm really looking forward to that. So we have our tent set up just down there somewhere, and we've had our lunch. But as we have been eating, the clouds have rolled in, so I'm not sure that there is much hope of a sunset, although we're in the right place if there is one. So we're going up to the top of the mountain there just to check out the view and probably take some shots and see what works out compositionally. And we can also go first just up to this ridge just here and get a view down over the lochs and our camp. So this is the view up on the crag, looking over these amazing pools with the peaks either side. It's really quite a beautiful view. Just on the right there you can see a couple of our tents. One of them is just out of sight down the ledge there. But this is a great scene to have on your doorstep, so if the light does come good, then this is where we will head. But as I speak there's a little bit of rain coming down, and just a gentle breeze, so the midges are back out. But we are going to scramble up our mountain and see what we can see. So that's where we're headed, just over there, and you pretty much just go straight up the face of the mountain. It's quite a fun, easy scramble. It looks much harder from here than it actually is. So that'll be good fun. We've been up here for a while now, but it doesn't look like it's going to clear, and unfortunately that's just the way it works sometimes. You don't get those amazing moments without some unsuccessful ones too. So we're going to head back down. At least the hike's been quite fun. It's quite a fun scramble getting up here. As we came down the mountain, the sun has popped out and the midges have popped out too. So I'm going to have to put on my midge net, which isn't great for talking to camera. But as you can see behind me, there's some real potential in this scene now, despite the haze. So there are some aspects of this that aren't ideal, but actually the atmosphere, I think, is going to work quite well. The light is nice and soft. What I might do is looking down at the reflection over there we go, of the sun. I think that's a bit of a distraction, so it might actually be better to shoot this when the sun is not out on our foreground but is on the background. So I'll maybe shoot this at different times and try and find a composition, just really what you see in front of you, because that pool is so beautiful given that it's so still. And of course it is that stillness that is bringing out the midges and allowing them to crawl all over my face, which is miserable. So it's head net time and then we'll get shooting. So it's really quite beautiful up here, and there is a lot of contrast and perhaps a lack of colour in the scene to really make this a success, this shot. But this is roughly what I'm shooting, this panorama that you see here. So I'm shooting in portrait mode and just shooting with 50% overlaps and a 3-stop total range exposure bracket to try and get the full tonal range of the scene in. And Jesus, who's up there, and Keith, who's over here, they're both shooting similar things. So I'm not sure that this is quite going to do the scene justice, but it is very beautiful here. So I'll take the shot and then process it so you can see what I've produced. So that is that finished image, and I'm actually really pleased with how this has come out. Although the colours are subtle, I think they work very nicely together, and the contrast issues that I was worried about actually didn't turn out to be too much of a problem. So I'm pretty happy with this, and it's slightly different to how I've composed this scene before, including 3 lakes. And I thought I'd do a voiceover here because I did actually shoot this scene both previously in the winter. So here's an alternative taken a little bit off to the right that I shot in the winter. And then I effectively reshot that winter composition twice whilst we were camped in this area. So once the following morning, and rather than include all the video of that, I thought I would just share the photo here. I do think this summery early morning image is actually a pretty good illustrative example of the view, but a bit like the ones that have gone before it, I just think there's room here to do something really exciting. And as far as I know, this is a novel composition, which is actually difficult amongst the mountain views in Scotland. A lot of the summits have, of course, been photographed from before. So I may well still come back for this one, maybe in different conditions, but nevertheless pretty happy with how all these images came out. Good morning from our rather lovely campsite here in Torridon. It was cloudy at sunrise, but it's cleared up now, as you can see, and there's a slight breeze to keep the midges away, which is nice. There's certainly plenty of midges about when Jesus was making his coffee. So yeah, we're having a coffee now, and then we're going to go on our day's hike.
I don't remember the route.
I don't know, I mean, somewhere up there. And then...
Sorry. Oh, be careful of those stones, mate.
Hello from the top of our mountain. So this is the other one that we could see from our campsite. So on the right hand side of the photo that I took this morning. So we've come up here this afternoon and the clouds have really built, so it's made for some quite dramatic conditions. You might get some quite good shots up here. Really quite optimistic. As you might notice, my eye is streaming because I rubbed some insect repellent into my eye, so I might be a bit camera shy whilst I'm up here. But you just have an absolutely incredible view looking over this Lochen down here with the mountains of Torridon behind. It really is a very special peak, and I'm looking to take an alternative to a shot that I first took in the winter a couple of years ago, which I really do like actually, but it's great to come and shoot some of these scenes with the summer greens and blues coming through, so that's what I'm hoping for today. We just got super lucky. I don't know if you can make it out, but there's a faint rainbow over there. Just a second ago it was much stronger, so it really made for a pretty exciting scene to photograph, looking down over these Lochens and into the mountains of Torridon. It is absolutely epic up here, and what an amazing opportunity to shoot a perfect summer image. Of course, I did shoot that as quickly as I possibly could. Sometimes you do have to be fast in landscape photography. So my strategy when I've got a scene that's very transient is always to shoot wide, and maybe wider than I normally would, just to make sure that I have space, because I don't necessarily have time to really hone in on the composition. It's better to shoot wider and then be able to crop in. And then once I've got that wider shot, then I start to zoom in, and then finally I finished off by shooting an exposure bracketed panorama. And I could have got away without the exposure bracket in this case, but the clouds hanging over the mountain there, they're very strongly sunlit, so if I expose to maintain those highlights, the shadows just start to get a bit dark, and also it would have made the rainbow a little darker. And really I want to make sure that the quality of that rainbow is as high as possible, so that I can maybe just bring out a tiny bit more colour and contrast. And finally, if you use a polarizer, then you can enhance a local area of the rainbow using the polarizer. So I did that too, and I think the shot I've got is going to work out really, really beautifully. Unfortunately, whilst it looks okay over there still, the sun is disappearing and this is coming for us. So we are putting our waterproofs on. I need to do that right now. So nice out towards the coast, but the rain is coming for us. But I think I've got a really great shot, and I think both Jesus and Keith do too. So maybe it's worth getting wet for. There was some pretty heavy rain there for a while, but we waited it out in the hope it would stop, and it has temporarily. And it's quite interesting seeing this cloud shift through here. So I've actually set up my camera again to try and capture a photo with a completely different mood. So tonally this all meshes together quite nicely because the atmospherics bring some of the colours together. So this kind of scene will handle a bit of contrast in post-processing as well. So this is actually the kind of conditions where you can shoot some really dramatic images, and that's what I'm going to try now. Of course, it matters so much what exactly happens with this cloud, so it's just a matter of trying a number of different shots and seeing what works. And this was the last image of the day, and a really nice alternative to that much brighter, summerier image that I took earlier in the day with that stunning rainbow that really made everything worthwhile. The rain did return after I took this photo, and so we headed off the mountain in the hopes that maybe we'd get lucky again in the evening. But when we returned to our tents, we found ourselves somewhat tent bound, as you can see from these pretty harrowing clips. This is the worst midge experience I have ever had in the Highlands, and I love photography, but I don't love it that much. So I'm afraid to say we hid indoors or in our tents whilst a beautiful sunset carried on outside. Of course, we wouldn't have been able to take photos anyway because the midges land all over your camera gear and everything. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Please do subscribe. There's a link there if you'd like to see more of these videos, and I will try to cut down on the skin crawling footage in future.